Harris thinks that the border crisis is due to climate change. Now, the Biden administration has named Kamala Harris to be sort of its border czar. But Kamala Harris hasn't really been down to the border. Nevertheless, this hasn't stopped her from making proclamations about the border. Here's the latest one. Listen.
So we are focused on addressing both the acute factors and the root causes of migration. And I believe this is an important distinction. We must focus on both. First, the acute factors, the catastrophes that are causing people to leave right now, the hurricanes, the pandemic, the drought, and extreme food insecurity. And then there are the long-standing issues, the root causes. And I'm thinking of corruption, violence, and poverty, the lack of economic opportunity, the lack of climate adaptation, and climate resilience.
Did you watch her if you watched her carefully, did it look to you like she's doing an Obama imitation? That kind of modulated voice. This is almost like kind of transgender Obama, you know? It's right. I mean, this is sort of like there was an eerie echo of Obama in there. I think if you watch it carefully, you'll see what I mean. But what I think what really gets me is sort of, well, first of all, she has this distinction, you know, between hurricanes, in other words, weather events on the one side, and the other, the systemic climate change. And all I can think of as I listen to this claptrap is it puts my mind into a kind of scene of Kamala Harris, if she ever goes down to the border or even to the other side, talking to sort of a Mexican farmer or like a Salvadoran peasant. And I'm trying to envision what that conversation might sound like, something like, have you ever heard about climate change? And the guy's like, no, senor, I've never heard about climate change. I've got bigger problems to worry about than climate change. Oh, you must be suffering from some food insecurity. And the guy's like, food insecurity? I don't have food. My problem isn't insecurity. I'm actually looking for a burrito. I actually want something to eat. I'm not just insecure about food. I need food. I totally get it. Well, do you know, Roberto, that the temperature of the Earth is 1.5 degrees more than it was 100 years ago? The man is like, no, senor, I had no idea about that. In fact, I didn't even know that we could measure the temperature of the Earth 100 years ago. He's like, how did they do that? And she's like, what do I know? So the bottom line of it here is that you have this crazy conversation going on, you know? And the guy goes, well, Roberto, do you know that it's just a lot hotter around here? Do you remember that hurricane that came through Salvador? Isn't that the worst hurricane you've ever experienced? And Roberto's like, actually, no, there was a far worse hurricane when I was a kid. We had many more hurricanes in the past. And she's like, really? Well, the scientists don't agree with you, Roberto. Your memory must be failing you. Your grandfather was probably lying to you. So this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with pure nonsense, or as someone once said, nonsense on stilts. And this is supposed to be the policy of the Biden administration. So at a very serious level, we're dealing with utter craziness. Yes, conditions are bad on the other side, but it's nothing to do with climate change. These countries have been poor for millennia. They've been poor going all the way back. Imagine going to some slum in India and saying something like, these slums exist because of climate change. And they're like, no, these slums exist because they've existed since the 3rd century AD. This is the way things have been in India for a long time. Yes, the British were here, but they were that way under the British as well. They haven't changed for a long time. What's really new isn't poverty. What's really new is the formula for people coming out of poverty. And that's really what these poor countries are looking for. Not nonsense about the rise in global temperatures, but rather a recipe to enable poor people who are eating 1 taco a day to find a way to have 2 tacos a day.